Okay, so I've got this log on the sawmill, and this is going to be part of the Sawmill Frequently Asked Questions series that I'm doing for sawing and people that have questions and stuff. But what the deal is with this log, the customer wants a beam, one beam as big as he can get it. The log on the big end is 28 inches. And the log on the small end, which is the end that's closest to us, is 20 inches. So there's an 8-inch difference there. 28 versus 20, which leaves you 8 inches. Now when you hear people talk about towing, like on a LT40 mill or 35, they have hydraulic tow boards. The LT15 does not, but what that means is, in this case, we've got an 8-inch difference between one end and the other as far as the diameter is concerned. So what we need to do is we need to pick the small end up 4 inches, which I've done because I don't have the tow boards. I drove up to the end of the mill with the tractor and wrapped the chain around it and picked the log up and slid my block under it. And so that gave me my rise, because if I were to leave the whole log sitting flat on the deck and cut, if I put the scale at 20 inches down there, it's going to eat up about half the log, because no log is perfectly straight, so it's going to eat up half of that log. That's why I put the block under it to tow the little end up. And if we measure from here, if I set my scale at 23 inches, we'll say 22 inches to give us plenty of room so there's not too much wane on either. But we'll set the scale at 22 inches, and that'll bring the blade out about right here. See, now if I set the scale at 20 inches with it towed, the blade will come out somewhere down in here and waste a good quarter of this log. So that's why we're going to set, since the end is towed up 4 inches, which is half of that difference that we talked about, the blade with the mill set at 22 should come out somewhere along in this area. Okay, now I have the blade set at 22 inches. 22, which is up here, being from the top of this bunk to the bottom of this blade. And you see where the 22 inches intersects the log, which is about right here. So we won't have near as much waste as we would if that end were not towed. If the other end were not towed, my blade would be about right there to get 20 inches, which is going to waste almost half of the customer's log, and he's not going to be happy. That's why we tow the ends where you tow the end of your logs. It's really meant to keep the heart centered. And there's some measuring you can do, like from the heart to the deck and from the heart to the deck on the other end and half of that. But in this case, I'm just trying to not to waste his wood and get him as big a beam as I can. Now when we turn this thing 180 degrees, the whole cut, the flat that's cut on the log, will lay directly on the bunks, and there won't need any towing. So that way he'll have a straight, log. A straight cut. His log will be even on both ends, and then we'll turn it up 90 degrees from that and tow it once again, just to take that top flitch off, and then roll it one more time 180, and that will cure the problem of the big end versus the little end deal. So what I do is I put my logs on, I cut them. Take my 1 flitch off, I roll them 180 degrees and I cut them. Then I roll it 90 degrees and stand the flats up against the stops on the outside of this mill and cut it again and toe the opposite end, the little end if need be. Cut it and then roll it 90 and cut it again. So it's put it on 180, 90, and 180 is how I square them up. Now I'll cut this flitch off and we'll see what we've got. Okay, now if you'll remember a few minutes ago we talked about the towing the log and bringing this end up, so that we measured and decided we would set the head 22 inches from the deck, and with this end towed up we determined that the blade would come out somewhere along in this area, and it did, as you can see. The blade, we talked about the waist on the other end and about setting the height for the mill right and towing the logs, and you'll see we don't have a half a log's waist on that end, and we don't have just a smidgen of it cut off. It's cut off at a good depth on this end and that end, and we still have plenty of log left to make the customer's beam. I got that second flitch cut off that we talked about rolling the log 180 degrees and cutting the second flitch. Now I'm going to show you how to stand them up for the next cut if the log is too big for a cant hook. What I've done is I've wrapped the chain around the log And so that when I raise the loader up, it'll turn the log to the right. So as we're watching the video, the log will roll to the right. But this is for entertainment purposes only. I'm not going to be responsible if you turn your mill over doing this, because that is possible. So if you do this, do it at your own risk. And this is for your entertainment only. Alright, so the beam is cut. Got him cut. It does have some wane on one side of it. I'm getting with the guy now to see if it's okay for the wane to be there. The bark that's on it's called wane. I don't think it looks bad. I think if he peels it off and stains it, it'll look good. But I can take it down another 2 inches if I need to for him, to give him less. But right now as it sits, that can is 16 by 16. So if need be, we could get 4 beams, 7 7/8 each beam out of it. So if he wanted 4 beams, you know, individual smaller pieces that he can handle, you would get 4 beams 7 7/8 inches square out of this piece, because I didn't account for kerf for making another cut, because all he told me he wanted was 1. So if I'd know, you know, if I know if you have a log and you want to make like 8x8s out of it, and we can get a 16-inch cant, we would need to cut it at 16 1/8 to account for blade kerf. So, but that's a whole nother gig. But thank you for watching me cut this beam. I hope you learned something about toe boards. And if you have a log or logs you need cut, give me a call, 478-960-2014. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe. Look me up on Facebook by searching @ MidGA Outdoor, MIDGA Outdoor, and it'll pull up my Facebook page. Again, thank you for watching. Have a good day.